Welcome to The Explainer. You often read about these massive companies splitting up or selling off huge parts of their business. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at what that actually means for the people involved. So let's just dive right into the big question. When a giant global company decides to sell off a piece of itself, what happens to all the employees? This goes so far beyond a simple press release. We're talking about managing the careers, the benefits, and the legal status of thousands of people across dozens of countries, all at the same time. And this isn't some hypothetical. 112,000. In the real-world case we're looking at, that's the exact number of employees whose futures were on the line. I mean, think about that. That's the population of a small city, and all of their jobs are in transition.
So, who manages this enormous human puzzle? You might think it's the CEO or the finance department, right? Well, not directly. The entire incredibly complex process falls squarely on the shoulders of the human resources team, and their mission is absolutely critical. This really makes you rethink the role of HR, doesn't it? We are not just talking about paperwork here. Not at all. HR becomes the central hub, the nerve center coordinating everything between legal, IT, and finance. Their job is to make sure all the data is perfect and, most importantly, to ensure the experience for those 112,000 people is as smooth as it can possibly be.
All right, now for the first major hurdle, the global negotiation maze. See, when you're a global company, you can't just snap your fingers and apply one rule everywhere. You have to navigate this tangled web of different laws, cultures, and labor contracts for every single country. And a perfect example of this complexity? Something called works councils, especially over in Europe. Now, don't think of these as just some casual advisory group. They are powerful employee representative bodies that you legally have to consult. They can't stop a deal forever, but believe me, if you don't handle the process perfectly, they can absolutely throw a wrench in the works and cause massive delays.
So what you get is this really delicate dance between all the key players. You've got the seller explaining why this is all happening, you have the buyer explaining what's next for everybody, and you have the works council making sure every requirement is met for the employees. And who's the choreographer for this whole thing? You guessed it, HR, acting as the central coordinator making sure everyone has exactly what they need.
And let me be super clear about this. Getting this consultation process wrong has real, serious consequences. We're talking about significant delays that can add millions to the cost of the deal and even put the whole timeline at risk. This is not an optional step. It's mandatory. Okay, so the negotiations are underway. The next big question is, well, it's a logistical nightmare. How do you actually plan the legal and physical transfer of thousands and thousands of people from one company's payroll to another?
Well, a lot of it depends on the kind of deal being made. In a share deal, it's relatively simple. The new company buys the whole business unit and the employees just transfer along with it. But in an asset deal, it gets way more complicated. The buyer is just picking and choosing specific assets, which can mean employees are legally terminated from the seller and have to be rehired by the buyer. Can you imagine getting that news? For an employee, that distinction is absolutely enormous. To manage all this, HR creates a super detailed playbook. They work with lawyers in every single country to confirm the correct transfer method. They figure out all the data they need, they draft thousands of customized letters, and they even plan for what happens if an employee refuses the transfer, which could mean paying severance. Every single detail is mapped out. So when you're in this sea of legal requirements, tight deadlines, and thousands of individual situations, what guides every decision? Well, your compass in the storm is one thing: accurate, reliable data. This becomes the absolute mantra for the HR data team. Their most critical job is to create and protect one master file. Not multiple versions, not a bunch of different spreadsheets floating around. One undisputed single source of truth for every single employee involved.
And you have to understand, this file is so much more than just a list of names. It's the engine that powers the entire operation. It tells payroll who to pay. It lets the finance team calculate potential severance costs in real time. It even helps leadership see if a key country is at risk of losing too much talent. Without it, the whole process would just grind to a halt. So all this strategy and planning sounds great in theory, but does this complex playbook actually work under the immense pressure of a real-life corporate breakup? Well, let's look at the results from our case study. This is the real-world test. First, the team successfully navigated those complex consultation processes, the ones that can cause those huge delays across 24 different countries. And this included some of the trickiest legal environments in the world, like France and Germany. And get this, they didn't have years to do it. The team accomplished this entire global negotiation in a breathtakingly tight timeline of just 26 weeks. That's about 6 months to restructure the workforce of a global corporation. Just incredible. And the result of all that meticulous planning? 48,000. That's how many unique offer and transfer letters they successfully distributed, error-free, across 63 different countries. That meant every single employee knew their status, and every transfer was legally sound. The takeaway here is crystal clear. To pull off one of the most complex events in a company's life, you have to have a highly structured, data-driven, and meticulously planned strategy. It's the only way to ensure things keep running smoothly on day one. And this leaves us with a final thought. In a world of high-stakes business deals, filled with talk about synergies and shareholder value, this is a powerful reminder. It makes you wonder, as companies continue to change shape, how do we make sure the human element stays at the very center of the strategy? Because the most valuable asset being transferred is always the people.